Very disturbing story and inputs coming in from Pakistan. The train hijack crisis has deepened. The Baloch Liberation Army has claimed 100 Pakistani security forces personnel have been killed. Pakistani government has sent 200 coffins to Quetta, fearing the worst. The Baloch Liberation Army had initially claimed they had more than 200 hostages. 200 Pakistan military personnel had been taken hostage and they had been split into various groups, and those groups had been taken to 5 different locations. The Baloch Liberation Army had claimed it's extremely firm that it wants to see all Baloch political prisoners and Baloch Liberation Army and Baloch Liberation Front cadres to be released from Pakistani prison, students to be released in exchange for these 200 plus Pakistani military personnel, and there should be a prisoner of war exchange. That's the terminology that BLA was using. But all indications from Pakistan security forces were that there would be no negotiations whatsoever with the Baloch Liberation Army and that a military offensive was to be mounted. There were reports of a military offensive being undertaken, but now those images that you see on your television screen, they're very disturbing, of coffin after coffin after coffin. They're being loaded onto trains and taken to that area where the hostage crisis is taking place. Geeta Mohan, India Today's Foreign Affairs editor, now joins me for more on the story. Geeta, what more can you tell us? This is very disturbing. If 200 coffins are being rushed to that area and there are reports of 100 Pakistan Army personnel being executed.
Well, it is indeed a very disturbing news that's coming in, Gaurav. 50 additional personnel have been killed by the BLA, and it comes at a time when we are looking at Pakistani army trying to salvage the already absolutely grim situation that they're faced with and faced by. The train still stands there. There are coffins that are being sent, like you rightly pointed out. But in terms of negotiating with the BLA, it's an absolute no. There was some demand of prisoner exchange, which meant that those Baloch activists who are under Pakistani custody should be released. We do not have details of the names, if there's a big name involved in this entire case. But the fact is that Pakistan right now says negotiating with for them terror groups is not an acceptable option, and they are going to continue looking at the ground offensive. But then again, Gaurav, the retaliation to the earlier ground offensive is why we are seeing 50 deaths and 50 of their personnel having been executed. They still have about 150 people in their custody as hostages. So the Pakistani army and the establishment have to walk a very fine line over here, because they will be answerable to the people. The bodies mounting is not something that's going to go down well. A lot of questions within Pakistan from people questioning the security breach over here. How is it that the BLA managed such a major offensive against the Pakistani army?
But tell me this, Geeta, a lot of this, in the fog of war is often described as psyops or psychological warfare from both sides. Pakistan Army visibly sends 200 coffins to send across a message that we will not negotiate, we will take the hard line. The Baloch Liberation Army talking about executing 100 or claiming they've executed 100. Is there any independent verification, one, of either the execution taking place, 2, of Pakistan Army mounting that massive operation? And there were some reports that seemed to indicate that SSG commandos who were heli-dropped were actually beaten back by the Baloch fighters who were waiting for them, wearing those night vision devices with those long-range weapons that had been acquired from Afghanistan.
Well, the fact is that the BLA is quite prepared, Gaurav. They knew exactly what they're doing. Look at where the train was hijacked.
Yes.
It was in Tunnel 8. There are about 17 tunnels, I'm told, in that entire area. And it's Tunnel 8 from where the train was moving when it was hijacked. Ensuring that the region and the area where they blew up the track is an area that has no network. Why were we so blinded in the first day and the second day with no visuals coming in? We had no eyes on the situation. In fact, Pakistani establishment had no eyes on the situation on the ground, is because none of the mobile networks were working. This is an area, this is one of those areas where there's no network. So despite having over 470 people on that train, there were no videos that came out, no panic videos, no video of the area, people who escaped didn't make videos. There's nothing that came out initially. Now we have visuals, we have eyes on exactly the location, is because news agencies have reached, people have reached that entire area to cover the story, and some aerial footage that has been provided by the Pakistani establishment or the army. And those are the only visuals you have. The rest are all reports. So you're very right in saying that the BLA claims right now that they have executed 150 only not so long ago. But these are claims being made by the Baloch Liberation Army. There is no independent verification, one, and no confirmation, no official confirmation of the deaths. But like you rightly said, and a very interesting point that you make, Gaurav, 200 coffins clearly is a message to BLA that these are red lines, and there is going to be no negotiation, no, which many say in common parlance, zero tolerance to hostage crisis or
zero
terrorism.
Tolerance to terror, if some may want to put it. And it's strange, it's very ironic that Pakistan were to say zero tolerance to terror, a country that's actually seen as a radical Islamist state sponsor of terror. This, frankly, Geeta, is the worst terror attack in Pakistan's history after the Army Public School Peshawar attack, in which 150 Pakistan Army children and teachers were massacred by terrorists. And everyone thought that Pakistan would turn into a new leaf after that and crack down on terror without making the distinction between good terror and bad terror. Sadly, Pakistan saw that as collateral damage. Will these deaths also be seen as collateral damage by Pakistan's military terror complex? We'll be tracking that story very closely.